when you look at the world today, what do you see? What are the signs for the next crisis? Because it is going to
Well,
happen up and down.
yeah, everything has changed courtesy of Trump because what causes a crisis is too much private debt growing too quickly. And though people were able to service their debts out of the revenue from sales of goods and services up to and including this year, now, because of the damage to the global production system through the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and about a 1 or 2 month hole in deliveries of not just oil, but critical elements for production in agriculture, fertilizers, and in high-tech manufacturing, that's helium, and medium tech, that's sulfuric acid. The people won't be able to sell goods they can't produce. Their cash flow will be insufficient to meet their debts, and lots of people in corporations will go bankrupt now because of Donald Trump, and that will then cause a financial crisis this year.
Can you just explain a little bit more about the Strait of Hormuz? Because for many people, it just feels like, oh, this war is far away. It doesn't change anything for me. Everything is kind of, apart from oil price going up,
Yeah.
people don't see anything else, and they wonder what is the whole talk about this. Can you just explain in simple words
Well,
for people to
basically, wait,
understand?
wait, wait a month, okay, and people will stop wondering what the hell's happening because oil obviously is the major export passing through the strait. Oil is the source of helium because, as well as oil accumulating in reservoirs which we get the oil, helium also builds up there. And helium is absolutely critical for high-tech manufacturing. You cannot make computer chips without helium because you have to cool the devices to virtually absolute zero, which is 273 degrees below zero in the Celsius scale, to 273.15 to be accurate. Helium heals to about 265 degrees, something of that order, below zero. And then that is critical for the accuracy with which lasers etch silicon wafers. It's critical for a huge range of medical technologies. For example, you can't do MRIs. You can't keep the magnets cool without helium. For example, hospitals and doctors will find they can't prescribe MRIs because there's no helium for the MRI machines. So doctors will then find they're not getting the revenue they thought they'd get. Hospitals the same. That will cause financial crises. Sulfuric acid is used for a huge range of industrial processes. One of the most obvious ones is creating copper. You have to use most methods to create copper use sulfuric acid. If you don't have the sulfuric acid, you can't make the copper. If you haven't got the copper, you can't make the wires that are necessary for the robots and the data centers and so on. So they will suddenly be able to produce less of them. So all these critical elements no longer can be produced to the same scale as they were last year. And the most important one is fertilizers. So we think we eat green stuff and red stuff, vegetables and animals. We're actually eating brown stuff because without the oil, you couldn't make the fertilizer. And without the fertilizer, you can't produce the crops. And the scale of destruction in the capacity to produce food, again, is something which most people don't have any idea of because they don't work in agriculture anymore. But the carrying capacity of the planet for humans without oil-based fertilizers, both nitrogenous fertilizers and phosphate-based fertilizers, is apparently between 1 and 2 billion people. Now, we've
Wow.
lost something of the order of 30% of global fertilizer supplies, and we produce 30% more food than we consume because of waste in the system at the moment. But that means that waste slack is entirely removed, and only if we had extremely intelligent management of food resources would we be able to say we'll just have enough food for everybody. Now, the last thing I expect out of our current political leadership is anything like intelligent management. We saw how badly they handled COVID in the first instance. So it's likely we've got less food than is necessary to keep the entire current population of the planet alive. And that means that in places which don't get enough fertilizer or the fertilizer arrives too late, there won't be enough food produced and people will starve. And I'm not an expert in the agricultural field, but my gut feeling is that we'd be lucky to get away with less than 50 million deaths from famines around the planet in the next 6 months to a year. We could see over 100 million deaths from famines. So this would be a global famine on a scale we've never seen before, because in the past famines are localized events caused by weather events or wars etc., in a localized area. This is going to hit any part of the world which is reliant upon food imports, and that includes, for example, the UK, and any area where they don't have large stocks of fertilizer. So the only way to survive this and to avoid the crisis is to have large stocks, and the only country that has large stocks of things like fertilizer and oil and grain is China. So China's got, by the looks of it, about 1.5 years' supply of each of fertilizer, grain, and oil, and therefore they can ride out 1.5 years of disturbance to supply. Whereas a country like Australia, for example, where I am now, Australia had less than 30 days' supply of diesel.
Gosh.
And so when the diesel stops flowing, the farm equipment can no longer run. The trucks, the food can't be moved from the countryside to the city. So we're going to see really serious disturbances to food production around the world. And of course, that is going to cause an economic crisis as well, because people will be spending money on food they would otherwise spend on other commodities. So there'll be a plunge in demand for other goods and services as well. And though you mentioned earlier, said, I'm not an economist, so I don't know this. Economists have no bloody idea of this, because conventional economics has a mythical model of how goods and services are produced. So if I'd, rather than saying economists would know what happened, I would blame economists for giving us ignorance about these actual production processes and therefore not being aware of the impacts we face.